meet you, Joseph.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me, Sarah. I really do appreciate it.
I'm really interested in finding out what the experience is like being an alternate. Do you really just sort of sit there for like 2 weeks or something thinking I may go
I'm not
home and
going.
then boom, you're in?
Yes, yes. So it's definitely such a unique experience. I accepted the alternate position because, of course, being on Big Brother is one in a lifetime. And I didn't want to throw it away, but I just started my legal career. Being a growing up in a Middle Eastern family, reality TV, the media perception is not always in a positive light. So my family had extreme concerns with me going onto a reality TV show. My mother is a huge Big Brother fan. And she goes, Big Brother always has that guy, that guy, and for lack of better terms. And she was like, I'm very worried based on your build and your background that you might be that guy if you go on the show. You worked so hard. She's like, you're such a kind soul. And she was like, you never know what perception or what the world wants to paint you out to be. So she had her concerns. My family entirely did. And then I just got barred in Florida, and I wanted to practice law outside of Florida. So I signed up for the uniform bar exam that was scheduled for July 26th. So I was preparing for that. So then Big Brother knocks on my door, and it was just a huge whirlwind of things to take in. I also was considering, I just got admitted to chiropractic school. So I was trying to see if I wanted to balance that. And there was just a lot of things to balance. So I was offered the alternate position, and I was like, you know what? This is 2 weeks where I can go in, lose my phone, study for the uniform bar exam, be one with myself, be away from my cell phone, just exercise my brain and my mind, my body. So I took it, and then the cast was released. So I confirmed in my mind that I'm not going in, just to find out like a couple hours before that I am. So it was definitely a whirlwind of emotions. When I was standing during premiere night, I still think I was digesting the fact that I'm on TV and in this yard right now.
It is. Well, we're loving alternates apparently. We loved Claire last year, and now we love you.
Yeah.
I
Claire
guess
left some big shoes to fill.
watching the episodes, there's some of us who are a little disappointed that your strategic edit, it wasn't as much as we were seeing in the live feeds. You seemed like you were playing both sides really well. You seemed like you were enjoying being this double agent. Did it ever cross your mind though, or worry you that you might be making your alliance suspicious of you?
Yes. So I have not seen this portion of the episode yet, where I'm forced into a double agent. Hilariously, I actually still consider myself one agent because I was always true to the leftovers, so I would have
Mhm.
never betrayed them. But I was forced into a position where I had to join this other alliance. It would have been extremely suspicious if I would have rejected the invitation into an alliance on the other side of the house, probably risking my game as well as putting the leftovers also on notice that Joseph is a part of something bigger, and that bigger thing also jeopardizes their game. So I had no real choice. I actually didn't necessarily, I'm not sure how the edit shows it, maybe the live feeders will see, I didn't necessarily love having to go pretend and be on both sides.
Mhm.
Those people were still my friends in a sense. So I hated that I was jeopardizing their games. At the end of the day, I just understand that it was best for my alliance, it's best for my game, and I had no real choice.
Mhm.
Sometimes it was just a little funny cut, hearing the plans or just getting to see the other side of the house's cards, so that way my alliance could progress. So any
Yeah.
enjoyment was simply on the fact that the reality of me getting these 7 people to the end of the game is becoming more clear. So every time I did get information by the other side of the house, which risked one of my alliance members' game, the only joy that really stemmed was from the fact that I can protect my alliance and I can truly get these 7 people to the end, because that was my goal. The
Mhm.
cookout did it last season. I wanted the leftovers to do it this season, and I wanted all 7 of us to go. And I took, not that I think the other house wasn't, but I felt like every player in the leftovers was an amazing player, and I was really looking forward to playing the game against them and just having that aspect of what we would call chapter 2 happen.
Right. So
But
you
we never
really
got
were
to.
leftovers to 7, pound to 4. What was your end game from there? Did you have a final 2 you wanted to take?
No, so I would say I was definitely leftovers to 7, and then there were conversations, but I definitely felt like Kyle and Turner already broke from the pound in some aspects, so obviously we'll never know, but, my final 3 with each week in that house, I definitely thought I was gonna do me, Monty Taylor.
Mm,
So that was my primary final 3. I think my final, 5 would have been me, Monty, Taylor, Michael, Brittany.
mhm. When you guys split up and you headed outside to Dyre Fest, the feeds went down a lot, and the little bit that we saw of you, you looked absolutely miserable. So
I
I have
was.
a few holes I want you to fill here, but starting with the wall yeller, who heard it? Did you hear it? What
So
happened there?
unfortunately, CBS does not allow us to talk about the wall yeller, but they did a good job. They keep any outside influence from influencing us. So they have a lot of precautionary measures to make sure that we don't get influenced by the outside world. And for the wall yeller specifically, I couldn't. It didn't influence my situation
Okay.
because CBS did their job and their precautionary measures.
They shut it down. Well, okay, so in this, it seemed like you were like, all right, let's try to get Alyssa out, leftover strong. Let's try to get Alyssa as the target. And then boom, you were kind of smacked with, wait a minute, Kyle is targeting me, thrown our whole, spilled everything. Is that kind of the flip that you went through?
Yes. So, and I'm not sure, I still have to watch this, but from my perception of what I was living is, I went in there leftover strong. I wanted to bring back Kyle and Turner. At this point in the game, other than the fake alliance that started, which from all the house guests I told, the five swatters was not really being taken serious by
Right.
anybody. You had Kyle and I, who were both in there as leftovers. Other people who only said they did this alliance just to pick up. You had girls was still a thing. So like apparently I wasn't the only double agent. I feel like
Yeah.
I get a lot of comments that I was the double, but Kyle was in there as well as a double. So was me.
Yeah.
There was everyone in there was in girls. So that alliance was never anything.
Yes.
It was just almost like us having a free dialogue between the other side of the house. But
Right.
yes, so Kyle definitely. I'm working hard to try to get him and Turner back in the house. I'm on the block, and then Terrence is just. I'm not cracking. Terrence is really
Mhm.
investigating me. He keeps trying to get me to spill information to him, and I'm just not doing it. I don't plan on doing it. And the only person that could go up that's not in my alliance is Alyssa. So I'm prioritizing that to Terrence, and Terrence just finally breaks it to me that you need to stop. Kyle has told me everything. I still don't crack because I thought this might be a tactic by him to get me to betray Kyle. But then he gives me a quick spiel of basically a lot of things that occurred throughout the weeks leading up to here. And I was like, oh, Kyle must have actually betrayed me because there's no way Terrence would have all this information if
Right.
it wasn't for Kyle betraying me. And then from going from that standpoint, I had to be on defensive mode.
Yeah, and it seemed like Turner just like kind of was like, whatever, sure, target Joseph. And then Alyssa was like coming at you.
Yeah.
Were you just being
Yeah.
attacked like left and right at this point?
Yeah. So definitely Kyle and Alyssa were teaming up together, which makes sense. They were in a showman. So Kyle and Alyssa were working together. Um, I believe I was Terrence's target initially too. So there
Mhm.
wasn't much support coming in from that end. And Turner's a very go with the flow. He seems to be like going with the majority. So obviously with Kyle and Alyssa being the majority, um, it was them three united kind of without me
Right.
against me. And at that point, the leftovers from my perception for Kyle and Turner were over. And for me, it still wasn't. So,
Yeah.
my mindset was okay, you guys abandoned this, but that doesn't mean I really have to. So my huge initiative was to still get back in that house so I could then warn or protect the people of what's coming, but never got that chance.
Right. Now, when you get to the jury house, and then Kyle shows up and you sort of learn that there were more to his motives, talk us through that realization and those conversations with him.
Yeah, so that was definitely a lot to take in. I still have not seen those episodes and how everything actually progressed, but I had a lot of conversations with Kyle and Jury, and I would say a lot of them were productive, just trying to
Mhm.
get his thought process and why he thought the way he thought and how he came to these conclusions. And he was very receptive to me on why I thought why I felt hurt, why, I don't know why he thought I was after him. We had a lot of productive conversations in there, and initially I was definitely a little devastated because I thought at least I was working pretty hard to protect his game as a friend, as an ally. Any advice I gave him, even in regards to the showmance, I just wanted to make sure Kyle had a chance to make it far in the game. I really wanted to make him, like I said, I wanted all seven of us to be standing there at the end. And I kind of shared that with him. I think he thought maybe that sentiment wasn't as true to me as it was to other leftovers. So he kind of just walked me through his thought process. And I tried to put myself in his shoes to some aspects to digest where he was coming from. And rather than attack him, change his perspective, and he was very receptive too. So I'm very appreciative that he was willing to have these conversations with me, and that in having these conversations he was willing to change his perception on what was actually going on and why his
Mhm.
concerns weren't really validated.
Now, other conversations in the jury house leading us to the round table and then your ultimate vote. w- Was everyone moving towards the consensus that if Taylor makes it to the end, she wins? Or were there some, deciding moments that convinced people?
Oh, absolutely. I think Taylor did an amazing job. She had us all on standby. Like, people would ask like where our heads at. Obviously, with me, Jasmine, Indy being initially there, and us like already starting to realize and feel like Taylor has played the best game up to this part, and then her week after week living up to that. There wasn't much work to do with each person
Mhm.
coming in. It's like Taylor did amazing jury management, and then them we the most thing we could do is just reassure their thoughts that we agree as well. So there was no real turning point. Obviously, we definitely were analyzing everyone's gameplay and how everyone did it, but from a social standpoint, the story of Taylor Hale has never been seen on Big Brother and will never be seen on Big Brother. Just it's one thing for her to deal with what she did, but how she dealt with it too is just remarkable and outstanding. And I think everyone started to appreciate that the more time they spent with her and the more they got to know her. So there didn't have to be, she did that. Like, there wasn't much work to be done in jury because she did such amazing jury management that everyone coming in was perfectly fine and happy with her winning.
You're right. The story of Taylor Hale, we rarely see, but I give you a lot of credit for that because what we do see a lot is bullying. We see the underdog, we see people getting vilified, but we never see someone speaking up for them. We never see someone put their foot down. And I am so grateful that we had you this season to do that, to allow us to have the Taylor arc this season. I know it was important for you to be a positive Arab representation, but you were just a positive human representation this season. And I really want you to understand how appreciative we are of that.
Oh my God, thank you so much. That means the world to me, Sarah. And one thing I would definitely love to say is, with or without me, I think Taylor was going to win that game. Like, she's definitely a role model for how to deal with bullying. And then I hope, as two separate individuals, my thing is, once I did decide to stand against it and, just put my perspective into play, granted, it wasn't done in the most perfect way I would like to do it in reality based on the game, but fortunately it was enough where, like, I could somewhat start to push against the narrative of the house. And I really do appreciate that. I really do hope that sent a bigger message to the world. I think, there can be two messages adopted from both Taylor and I separately, is like, Taylor, the way she handled what she did was so, iconic, and she's such a role model. And then in how I tried to support it and push against it, I do appreciate that that was acknowledged. And I think there's other things to grasp from, like, as well as other house guests, is that when a mistake is made, the people who held accountability and, right that wrong, I think that's pretty admirable as well too. But I do appreciate you noticing, like, you know, my part and play and everything, but ultimately, it's just I think what Taylor did was just so amazing that she didn't need anyone. She did that alone, and it's just so great the story she has, and that's why it was so easy to vote for her.
Right. Well, what's next? Are we gonna see you as a lawyer? Where are you going?
My God, that's a really good question that I wish I had an answer to. I just started my legal career, so I was I'm on the fence of, you know, fully going back into it, but the lives and the messages I've seen, the lives I've touched, the messages I've read from all aspects, whether it was for motivation, just providing people happiness and escape, for the Arab community, it's overwhelmed me with love and support. And showing that, you know, that's the type of media representation that we want and that we needed. Please keep going. So the the momentum I got coming out of Big Brother, I would have never expected, and the influence I had, I'm just wishing I can keep doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely plan to still maintain my aspects in the legal career, but the good I feel like I was given the opportunity to put out, if I can maintain that and do that in another way, however it be, whether reality TV, anything, I'm hoping I still have the opportunity to do so.
All right. Well, we look forward to whatever it is, Joseph. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Sarah.